slogan from Capital One credit cards. You know, it used to involve a series of Vikings, and nowadays it involves Admiral Sharkey and some squid or superhero Armadillo Man or something like that. But they have a bottom line question in the slogan that asks a question about the very personal item that you and I either carry in our back pocket or carry in a pocketbook. And that slogan is what? Exactly. What's in your wallet? If you stop to think about it, there's a good amount of information about each of us that can be learned in a short time with just a short peek into our wallets. Very vital information and some very private information. This week and the 5 weeks to come, we're going to follow the theme, what's in your wallet? And we're going to look at 6 areas of our lives to which anyone might be introduced if they happen to find or steal our wallets. In every wallet there are multiple clues as to your identity. Think about it. We can find pictures. We can find, used to, not so much anymore, but used to be people carried around a Social Security card in their wallets. You've got your credit cards. But particularly, think about your license. Your driver's license provides information about your auto, your address, and it has a picture of you looking better than you've ever looked before in your life. You look marvelous in your license picture, I'm sure. Is verification as to your identity needed for a check written or a credit transaction? May I see a form of identity? May I see your license, please? Are you being questioned by one of the uniformed men with red and blue lights going on top of his vehicle? License and registration, please. You see, your license identifies you. It gives away some ID. It uses a form of ID. I don't know, you hear about the guy from Tennessee that was driving up through Kentucky, hit Indiana, and got stopped on the interstate for speeding. And the trooper came up to the window and said, "Sir, do you have any ID?" And he looked at him and said, "About what?" I'll be a Southerner to get that one. One of the biggest and most feared crimes that you hear about all the time anymore is, of course, identity theft. But when it comes down to it, is stealing someone's vital information and illegally using it, is that really stealing your identity? I mean, is your identity simply an amassed amount of data that's been collected about you? Is who we are really just a conglomeration of numbers and symbols and statistics and a picture? When a troubled teen or a person with a midlife crisis talks about, I've got to go find myself. I got to find out who I really am. I've got to establish my identity, is what they're saying. Do we simply say to them, well, just go down to the Hall of Records and they'll pull out your birth certificate and you'll know who you are? Or just go down to Grandma and Grandpa's house and get that big fat Bible that's sitting on the coffee table and open it up and look on that family tree that's recorded there in the middle and you'll know who you are. No, of course not. We don't tell them to take out their license and memorize the auto registration number and all of a sudden they'll know who they are. Why? Because identity is more than that. You are more than just information that can be collected. You're more than just a name or an address to be found inside a wallet. Sometimes the reality that identity is more than data or external packaging is discovered through negative or sometimes tragic events. For instance, how many times have you and I watched the news where some tragedy has occurred and they're interviewing a neighbor and you hear something like, I would never have thought that she, never in a million years did I think that they seem like such great people. How could they see, the true identity of the criminal who is accused in that case was more than just the exterior persona that they presented to their neighbors, and they were far more than just the information that may have been found in a wallet. But is it just criminals who are fooling people? Is it just criminals who are not truly known? Masking one's identity is not only for those of ill repute, is it? People work hard at masking their identities. Even a spouse can attempt to hide from a spouse. You know what? I spend a lot of time in premarital counseling trying to get a young couple to think beyond all the razzle and dazzle of a wedding date, to think beyond the glaze, to get outside the glazed look of romance, and to begin to think about the reality of actually living a life and having a marriage with this person. Do you really know that person? There was a story told about a young lady who came home from a honeymoon, and she called her mother, and her mother said, well, how was things? She said, oh, it was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Everything was really great. And then she broke down in tears. She was sobbing. But Mom, you won't believe, when I came home, there's just a different side of my husband that I didn't realize. He started using 4-letter words, and Mom, come and get me. And she said, now settle down, settle down. What kind of 4-letter, what was he saying? What kind of 4-letter words you talking about? She said, oh, I can't even repeat them. You don't want to hear them. She said, honey, you tell me what he was saying. She said, well, he was using 4-letter words like dust and wash and iron and cook. I never heard such like, sometimes you can be shocked wide awake by a person you think you know and you truly know. It's been said that love is blind. Well, I like what Walter Wangerin said. Walter Wangerin said, if love isn't blind, it sure does squint a lot. We want to be fooled. You think about the idea of cosmetics. What's the purpose of Botox and all that stuff like that? Well, to temporarily get rid of lines so that we can change the outside and appear to look differently. The word cosmetic, believe it or not, does come from a Greek word, kosmetikos. And that word means skilled in arranging. So the use of cosmetics, is designed to arrange things to kind of bring order to chaos, if you get what I'm saying. We work at really fooling each other. And there was a young lady who brought she got to the point where her mom bought her a cosmetic kit, and she took to show her dad, and her dad looked at it and said, that's a tackle box. And she said, no, it's cosmetic. She said, no, it's a tackle box. She said, Dad, and she started listing all the things that are in there. She said, it's a cosmetic case. He said, no, it's a tackle box. That's a bunch of lures in there.